Our political commentators and our chief media analyst are all joining us. Alyssa Farah Griffin, let me start with you. What's your reaction to the Republican vice presidential candidate Vance fully leaning into Trump's totally baseless lies about the 2020 election for the first time as the GOP VP candidate?
It should be disqualifying. And listen, it speaks to his character and his integrity. I don't think there's anyone on this panel who thinks that J.D. Vance legitimately believes that Donald Trump won the election and that Joe Biden lost it. But this has become a litmus test, a sort of bright line to be able to be Donald Trump's VP pick. There's a reason my former boss, Mike Pence, is not on the ticket. It's because he held the line, he defended the Constitution, and he certified 81 million Americans' votes for Joe Biden, who won the election. I do think this matters. Kamala Harris was rallying in Pennsylvania today with Republicans. She's going for disillusioned Republicans who are tired of the lies. They're tired of the misleading of the public. And this could make a difference around the margins.
Our chief media analyst, Brian Stelter, is with us as well. Brian, I want to remind our viewers what J.D. Vance was saying shortly after the 2020 presidential election. Listen and watch this.
I think that when Biden is inaugurated, people will, more or less accept it, and it'll be on to the next fight.
That's a pretty far cry from what he's saying today.
His words continue to be used against him, Wolf. I was in Pennsylvania yesterday, and the most interesting billboard I saw about the election was just a tweet of J.D. Vance's from 2016 when he said, "Trump makes people I care about afraid." Well, a lot of people are afraid of a repeat of January 6th, and that's why this issue is so powerful. That's why journalists keep asking Vance about the 2020 election. This is going to continue to haunt him, but I think ultimately, Wolf, this is a supply and demand issue. There is not a demand on the right for Vance to tell the truth about this issue. In fact, there's the opposite. There's a demand to be lied to. There's a desire to be lied to. So J.D. Vance is the supplier, but I'm more worried about the demand side of the equation.
Let me get Scott Jennings to weigh in. Scott, what does it say to you that in order to be in Trump's good graces, you seemingly have to deny the results of the 2020 election?
Yeah, look, I mean, I've believed since the 2020 election that Donald Trump lost. I don't like what happened on January the 6th either, and I certainly accepted that Joe Biden became the president. And I frankly, I don't know what this is gaining them, truthfully, today. I know why he might think he needs to do it, but I think that it's perfectly also fine for a Republican to say, we lost this one, we could win the next one, and let's fight it out, just as you heard him do on the show with that soundbite. So people keep asking him about it. Frankly, I don't know. I think what happened is pretty clear.
Why do you think he keeps on doing this?
I mean, look, I think the ticket has a view on it, and when you're on a ticket, you carry the views of the ticket. That's what I think.
Ashley Allison is with us as well. Ashley, despite Trump's false claims about the election, in a new poll from Marist College, Trump has actually widened his lead among lightly independent voters. He leads Harris, look at this, 54 to 44%. How do you explain that?
Well, look, I don't really rely on polls to determine the outcome of the election because I think it's the people who ultimately decide. I'm skeptical of all the polling right now. One thing we know is that it's extremely close, and that's what that poll says. I actually agree with everything everyone has said on this panel. It's like the first time that might have ever happened. I definitely agree what first time. I definitely agree to Alyssa's point about this actually could help Harris. There are Republican voters. They might be Trump, Biden, and maybe Harris voters. They might be Trump, and then Harris voters. There are Republicans and there are independents out there that a comment like J.D. Vance makes today that acknowledges that he doesn't believe in the election results of 2020 could just be, if they're still on the fence, could be the thing that just says, I just don't want to do this anymore. And the way I'm going to move forward is to not vote for the Republican ticket. So I would continue to elevate it. We cannot normalize the denial of the election. And I do think the Harris campaign should definitely target it, particularly with independents and Republicans that are on the fence still.
Alyssa, in a clip released from an upcoming town hall with Univision, Trump is repeating the false claim that Haitian migrants are eating their neighbors' pets in Springfield, Ohio. What does that say to you about his campaign?
doubling down, never admit you're wrong. And it's just kind of the devolution of our politics in real time. And I think the fact that it came up at that town hall is because it does resonate with immigrant communities, regardless of if you're Haitian or from anywhere else, that he will utilize this dehumanizing and just divisive language to tear down, by the way, a population that we now know was here legally and of course was never eating the pets. But I also in his answers and some of the ones he's gotten around this, it does seem like he doesn't even have the quick political instinct he once had to realize this is an issue you should drop. There's a way to pivot away from it. He just kind of keeps going back to it. I'm seeing more and more of this. Maybe it's the weaving that he's talking about, but he doesn't seem to have as sharp of political instincts or ability to kind of turn the page on rhetoric that's truly damaging to his own campaign.
Brian, why do you think we're seeing Trump actually double down on this conspiracy theory, even as the GOP governor in Ohio and the mayor there, GOP, say there's no evidence to back this up?
Well, I hate to say dog whistle when we're talking about dogs and cats and animals, but it's a dog whistle. It's a racist dog whistle. It's a way to express something that is racist, but in a coded way. And what we've learned about Trump over the last decade is that whatever he hears most recently, whether from television or from his aides or his friends at Mar-a-Lago, that's what he repeats. So I think probably earlier today, he heard something about other animals being chewed on, and now he's repeating it. And now, of course, tomorrow he'll be asked what animals and where and who, and sadly, the cycle will go on and on.
Scott, the election is now, less than 3 weeks away. Voting has already begun in some of the key battleground states. Is denying the 2020 election and migrants eating pets the closing message that Republicans want?
Well, I tend to think the best closing message, Wolf, would be economy. Immigration, yes, to the extent you can talk about the failures of the current administration. Look, the best vectors for everybody who's still making up their mind is, are you happy with what you got or do you want change? Because I don't think many Americans are happy with what they got, and they would like to see some change. So to me, it's actually pretty simple. If I were in their shoes, I'd be out talking about that and that only, because I think it is a way for them to reel in the last few votes they need to win the election.
Ashley, it's interesting. Kamala Harris has been trying to more directly make the contrast with Trump out there on the campaign trail, at least in recent days, big time, calling him unhinged. Is that message you think breaking through?
It's a yes, and I think that people who believe Donald Trump is unhinged or he's unhinged already are voting for Kamala Harris. I think in these last 3 weeks, what I would do is again draw the contrast, point out who he is and the character flaws that he has, but also then say, and the reason why I am the candidate for change is because I'm going to do it differently and I'm going to do it this way. I don't think it's a one or the other. I think it's a yes and.